Type annotations for args and kwargs. I'm trying out Python's type annotations with abstract-based classes to write some interfaces. Is there a way to annotate the possible types of args and kwargs? For example, how would one express that the sensible arguments to a function are either an int or two ints? Type args gives tuple, so my guess was to annotate the type as union tuple int, tuple int, but this doesn't work. Error messages from MyPy. It makes sense that MyPy doesn't like this for the function call because it expects there to be a tuple in the call itself. The addition after unpacking also gives a typing error that I don't understand. How does one annotate the sensible types for args and kwargs?
For variable positional arguments, args, and variable keyword arguments, KW, you only need to specify the expected value for one such argument. From the Arbitrary Argument Lists and Default Argument Values section of the typehints PEP. Arbitrary argument lists can as well be type annotated, so that the definition is acceptable, and it means that, for example, all of the following represent function calls with valid types of arguments. So you'd want to specify your method like this. However, if your function can only accept either one or two integer values, you should not use args at all. Use one explicit positional argument and a second keyword argument. Now your function is actually limited to one or two arguments, and both must be integers if specified. Args always means 0 or more, and can't be limited by type hints to a more specific range.
The easiest way to do this, without changing your function signature, is using it overload. First, some background. You cannot annotate the type of args as a whole, only the type of the items in args. So you can't say that args is tuple int, you can only say that the type of each item within args is int. That means that you can't put a limit on the length of args or use a different type for each item. To solve this, you can consider changing the signature of your function to give it named arguments, each with their own type annotation, but if want, or need, to keep your function using args, you can get MyPy to work using it overload. Note that you do not add overload or type annotations to the actual implementation, which must come last. You can also use this to vary the returned result in a way that makes explicit which argument types correspond with which return type. For example,
(2022) update. The MyPy team added support for the unpack keyword. This is available since MyPy 0.981 or higher. Attention! Although this feature is complete, unpack ... is still considered experimental, so you will need to use enable incomplete features to enable it. You can use this feature as follows. If you call the request function with the arguments defined in the typedict, you won't get any errors. If you forget to pass an argument, MyPy will let you know now, smiley face. You can also make the fields non-required by adding total equals false to the typedict. Alternatively, you can use the required and not required annotations to control whether a keyword argument is required or not. Old answer better. While you can annotate variadic arguments with a type, I don't find it very useful because it assumes that all arguments are of the same type. The proper type annotation of args and kwargs that allows specifying each variadic argument separately is not supported by MyPy yet. There is a proposal for adding an expand helper on MyPy_extensions module. It would work like this. The GitHub issue was opened on January 2018, but it's still not closed. Note that while the issue is about kwargs, the expand syntax will likely be used for args as well.
As a short addition to the previous answer, if you're trying to use MyPy on Python 2 files and need to use comments to add types instead of annotations, you need to prefix the types for args and kwargs with and respectively. This is treated by MyPy as being the same as the below Python 3.5 version of foo.
If you want to see more, please consider subscribing.